Welcome back to Car Garage, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I know I am, because we are talking about the top 5 common problems for the LB7 Duramax. And I should know because I am sitting in and own an LB7 Duramax. I've owned this truck for the past 8 years, and I've built this entire YouTube channel around it. This is Old Pig, the Alaskan Overland Rig. Pig's a 2001 LB7 Duramax, GMC Sierra 3500 crew cab long bed dually, and I got this old freshly rebuilt 1982 Paris Valley camper on the back of it. So, my top 5 most common problems with the LB7 Duramax, in no particular order, are, let's start with fuel injectors. This is a pretty well-known issue and was absolutely more of a problem right out of the get-go with the LB7s. The LB7, when it came out in 2001, was the first diesel in production for these medium trucks to use common rail fuel injection, and they did it before anybody else, and there were some growing pains. And some of those growing pains were, initially, there were some seat cracking issues. Your injectors would crack, and there were clogging issues. There still are clogging issues due to poor filtration, and some symptoms that you might have. Some bad injectors that need to be replaced are hard starts, rough idles, excessive smoke, white or black, misfires, poor fuel economy. And the fix is really easy. What I did to fix mine is I did 2 things. I upgraded to 45 over sack nozzle injectors. So the larger injector nozzle definitely helps with the clogging issues, because more stuff can get through there. Also, the sack nozzle injector has a little sack at the tip which stores fuel, like it's designed like after a marine diesel injector, but it stores fuel which keeps your injectors cool and keeps them from warping and damaging themselves over time, and provides a little bit more lubrication for it. And that is going to be the best bang for your buck. If you get a regular OEM standard size injector, they say they last 100,000 miles, but a lot of people say they last about 50,000, and then anytime after that you can start having injector issues. So get the sack nozzle, get whatever flavor you want, get the standard size, 15%, 45 over. I went 45 over because that's what was on the shelf at the time. And the standard size, which is what I really wanted, this was back in 21, were pulled off the shelf due to clogging issues that they're having. And I think they figured it out after the fact, but I got the 45s and they're pretty freaking sweet. It helped out a lot with the bottom end power. And let's see. Oh, the other fix for your injector issues due to poor filtration is upgrade your filtration system. Get a FAS or an Air Dog or whatever flavor of lift pump you want. I have a old FAS 95 titanium series, so 95 gallons per hour, and it has a water separator, and it has a fuel air separator and a filter, and then also it comes with extra options to where you can plug in a fuel heater probe, which I did because I do live in Alaska and I need all the heat to my fuel that I can, especially on this cold starts. You can actually do 2 probes, and I want to do the additional probe here pretty soon. And then the other option that it comes with is you can pipe in your coolant into the fast lift pump, so that when your coolant's heated up, it'll keep your fuel nice and warm in wintertime. And a lot of guys will put like a ball valve system on there so they can close it off in the summertime, so they're not heating their fuel in summer. But that's going to be your fix for injectors, for injector issues. Upgrade to those sack nozzle injectors and get a fast lift pump or an Air Dog lift pump, something with a water separator and an independent fuel filter. And then keep your fuel filter housing up in the engine bay. A lot of people delete them. You can if you want to. You already got 2 filters in the back, but if filtration is an issue, I say an abundance of caution is not a bad thing. The second thing on my list is also fuel related. It is fuel delivery issues. And if you, this only applies if you tune your truck and you start doing performance stuff. If you have a stock Duramax, you're not going to have delivery issues. Your C3P pump, CP3 pump will do just fine. But what happens when you increase that demand for fuel, say you put in those 45 over injectors and you have a tune, or even if you just have a standalone tune, you are demanding a lot of fuel. And what that CP3 pump is doing, since we don't have stock, we don't have lift pumps, what it's doing is pulling that fuel from the tank on a low pressure side. It's pressurizing it and sending it to the injectors, which is fine in stock form, but once you have a higher demand, it can't keep up, and your CP3 pump is not long for this world, and it's going to crap out sooner than later. So the best thing you can do to help that out, again, get a lift pump. That lift pump's going to pull that fuel and push it to your fuel pump, your primary fuel pump, and alleviate a lot of stress. And so your fuel pump only has to pressurize at that point. Some symptoms that you'll notice after you tune your truck, especially if you put a big tune on it and you smash that skinny pedal and you start accelerating, is you'll go out of the gate like a bat out of hell and then fall flat on your face. You won't be able to climb in RPMs, and speed won't be climbing very fast at all. That's because your truck is starved for fuel. You just can't keep up. Get that fast lift pump like I did though, and it absolutely solved that problem. Next on my list, albeit less common, is still very, very serious, and that is blown head gasket issues. And we got 20-something-year-old trucks here, like Pig's 24 years old at this point. I did my head gaskets back in 2021 because I couldn't tell if it was a head gasket issue or if I had a lifted injector issue. When I pulled it apart, it turned out to be a lifted injector, but it had a lot of the same symptoms as a blown head gasket. And some of the symptoms are coolant loss, overheating, white exhaust smoke, milky oil. And so what causes the gaskets to fail is adding power to your truck. Once you got a little more compression, bigger explosions, more stress on the engine components, especially if you have, a high mileage truck and a truck as old as these that have just, seen a lot of winters, seen a lot of summers, a lot of heat cycles, things get brittle and expand and pop eventually. So if you are going to start adding power to your LB7, definitely upgrade your head gaskets and get some studs as well. That's what I did. I put some studs on and haven't had any issues ever since. Let's see. We can talk a little bit about why you have some coolant loss and overheating. So what happens when you break, or when that head gasket breaks, is some of that coolant starts to get, a variety of things can happen. It can start to leak into your cylinder head, and or leak through your cylinder head into the pistons, and will start to burn, and that's where the white smoke comes from. Also, overheating will cook that coolant pretty quick. And when you have all of that compression leaking from the pistons, it's going to pressurize your coolant system. And so another symptom that you'll notice is that your radiator hoses will be as hard as Rod Jeremy, and there's just no way to fix it besides changing the head gaskets. You can also run a block fluid test, which is what I did initially, and a block fluid test will detect the presence of carbon in your coolant system. It's just this little plug thing that sits over the coolant reservoir, and you put your fluid in there, and it's blue at first, but once it interacts with carbon, it'll turn green, or carbon from a diesel will turn green. and that's how you know. And also when you're just like looking down at your coolant reservoir, you can see it bubble up, so you know there's a lot of pressure. So head gaskets, number 3. Number 4 is overheating issues. So the LB7s and LLYs, I think LLY more than LB7s, are pretty notorious for overheating issues. The front of the truck here, and then show you what I did to overcome it. But the front of the truck, you look at the grill and it's really small, has really small openings, so there's not a whole lot of airflow. On top of that, the stock radiator seems a bit undersized and just doesn't flow that well, especially with the big stack that it has to go through. You have your that the air has to go through. You have your radiator, your intercooler, and then you have your transmission cooler on top of that. So that's, and if your stack is clogged up in any way, which by this point, if it hasn't been cleaned, it's probably pretty well clogged. I know mine was. But that doesn't help things out either. And you'll most commonly notice overheating when you're towing or you're hauling or going up steep grades. That's when I noticed it. I do a lot of overlanding and camping around Alaska. So going low and slow on a hot summer day up an old 50-year-old logging road with no air blowing, my clutch fan was fully engaged and peg was overheating. So I'll show this to you here next, but the fix to that is to upgrade your cooling system. Sounds pretty obvious, right? But how do you do that? Aluminum radiator with a larger capacity has much better cooling. My clutch fan it barely engages now, and cooling down doesn't take very long at all if I'm just idling. Engine temps drop down fairly quick. The other thing that I did is I put a larger aluminum transmission cooler in there, because that stock one is just really tiny and barely flows any air. And I actually did that before I did the aluminum radiator, and it brought my engine temps down by 10 degrees and my transmission temps down by 20 degrees on that same mountain that I was overheating on, and it never overheated. My truck never went past 210 degrees. And when I put the aluminum radiator in that same mountain, I barely got past 200, but it was rock steady at that point. So that helped out significantly. Another thing that'll help, I'd say, upgrade your cooling system. That'll solve it. But if you want to go the extra mile, getting rid of that exhaust gas as fast as you can and lowering that back pressure is going to help keep your engine temps down as well. Keep those EGTs down, exhaust gas temperatures. So upgrading to a 4-inch exhaust or 5-inch exhaust, upgrading that pancaked downpipe is going to help, and upgrading your intercooler pipes is going to help as well. I have 3-inch mandrel bent intercooler pipes, hot side and cold side, and the stock ones start at 2.5 inches and then taper up to 3 inches, and the 2.5 inches is like a rubber boot, which really holds in that heat. So you go 3 inches, that hot air is going to be able to expand and cool down, and then having nice mandrel bent pipes, it can dissipate that heat pretty easy. You could argue that it can transfer the heat from the engine faster as well, and that's certainly true, but definitely do not wrap your intercooler pipes, because that's just going to hold the heat in. So stay with the metal pipes. So increasing the diameter of your exhaust will help with that. I went the extra mile, and I have videos of all this stuff if you wanted to check it out, but I went the extra mile. I ported the heads after I rebuilt them, and I did the injectors at the same time, so I have more air coming in. I ported the Y pipe as much as I could too. Couldn't take a whole lot off there, but it definitely has better flowing characteristics now. I ported the exhaust manifolds, opened those up quite a bit, and I upgraded the driver's manifold to a BD full bore, because if you're unfamiliar with the stock exhaust manifold on the driver's side, it's pinched down between which cylinder is it? I forgot. 6 maybe. Yeah, I think it's cylinder 6 by the steering column. It's pinched down for clearance of the steering column, but that's not needed. And I think you can get an LMM exhaust manifold and it'll do basically the same thing. I went BD full bore because it has a drilled out port for EGT gauge. And that helped out the flow characteristics a lot, and it evened out all the porting and everything, evened out my evened out the idle, because now both sides are flowing at the same rate, which bumped up the turbo spooling. Also, I rebuilt the turbo and I ported the turbo on the exhaust and the compressor side, and then upgraded that compressor wheel to a billet aluminum. So it's a little more aggressive, a little taller, bigger scoops, pulls in more air, and is a little bit lighter, so it doesn't take quite as much energy to spin up. But pulling more air in to get better combustion and pushing it out as efficiently and quickly as you can with the least amount of back pressure is going to help you cool the engine down, and also it'll help those EGTs just stay down in general. But after you had that initial spike EGT, you're going up a hill or whatever, and you let off the accelerator, your EGTs are going to drop a lot faster if you can get rid of all that heat. So that's the extra mile, and you get a lot more fuel efficiency, a lot more power, and your truck is a lot happier, and you're not overworking your parts if you do it that way too. But I would, let's go ahead and go check out the radiator and everything and show you what I did. Okay, there's old Peg there. As you see, I modified my grill, cut out all the bars and slats, took out the emblem, threw in the mesh there, so you get a lot better flow that way. You can see the transmission cooler is huge. There's the 3-inch mandrel bent intercooler pipes, both sides. I have a 2001, so I had to get a special boot. You don't need the special boot if you have 2002, 3, or 4, because it has a longer Y pipe. And then here is the aluminum radiator, and it helps out. It's a pretty drastic difference, and you can feel the heat difference between the hot side and the cool side. Like, it is hot to the touch right here where it's coming from the engine, and the other side it's super cool. So it works extremely well and was well worth the investment. You can pick all this stuff up on Amazon for pretty cheap, which is where I got it from. If you live in Alaska, then you're going to be paying high shipping costs. The cost will most of the time outweigh the cost of the part. That's it for the cooling. And then last but certainly not least, and highly anticipated, I'm sure if you guys have been looking up LB7s, is the Allison transmission. I'd say in stock form, that Allison's going to last you forever. You can put a ton of miles on there, and it will just keep on ticking. The breaking point is when you hit around 450 horsepower, which is really easy to do. All you got to do is throw a tune on your truck, and you're going to start slipping the clutch there. You're going to slip the clutch. You're going to put it in limp mode, which will lock you in a third gear and allow you to limp home to fix it. And this happens usually between like gears 4 and 5 if the computer detects any slippage, even the most minute amount of slippage. It'll put it in limp mode just to protect itself. And the more you slip it, the easier it is to slip, the worse your transmission gets, and then it needs to be rebuilt or replaced. A good thing to keep on hand is a DTC scanner. I bought like a $20 one I got at my other truck, but usually I keep it with pig, because if I stomp on that skinny pedal, it'll limp it if I'm not being careful between 4th and 5th gear. This pig is the way I got it set up now and tuned, making about 600 horsepower, 1,200 pounds of torque, and that's my toe 2 heavy light toe tune. gee, boot scoots and boogies. So I have to be careful because I'm still using a stock transmission. So I got to keep it tuned and mind my foot, because transmissions are expensive for this thing. Let's see if I left anything out. Yeah, that's it. The obvious fix is to rebuild your transmission with better components, or to purchase a reman with better components. They're already pretty solid transmission. It already has like a thicker input, intermediate, and output shaft, thicker than the ones they put in the Dodge or the Ford, so you don't have to upgrade that unless you're hitting like 800 horsepower. But if you're hitting 800 horsepower, you got to do a lot more to your engine and a lot more to your truck in general just to hit that safely. But if you just trying to throw a couple extra ponies on that carriage to tow and haul and have fun with, and not be such a slug, then just a 500 horsepower transmission or 750 would do just fine. And that will take care of your transmission issues. But if you're not going to upgrade that, or if you're like me, you're just kind of hemming and hawing and don't want to spend $10,000 right away, then just ease up on your tune, ease up on your foot, and after you hit that third gear, especially, you're pretty solid through 1, 2, and 3. But after you switch from 3 to 4, then you're in the danger zone. So let up off that fuel. And if you're already in 5th gear, don't smash the skinny pedal if you're tuned up, because you will definitely limp your vehicle. And if you're trying to pass somebody or race somebody, you're going to look like an idiot, because you're going to get limped in 3rd gear and you're going to bog way down. And you're going to have to pull over and clear your codes. And after you clear your codes, then you're back to normal. But that's it. That is the top 5 common problems with the LB7 Duramax. I got them all written down here. So fuel injectors, fuel system delivery, head gaskets, overheating, and the transmission. So I hope that helped you out, guys. And I have done a lot of work on this truck, and I've solved a lot of those issues on this truck. So consider subscribing, especially if you own an old LB7, or just even if it's not an LB7, you have like the LQ4 in it, or just the 5.3. A lot of the chassis stuff and brakes and hydro boosts and everything translates over to the gassers as well. But for the LB7 guys, definitely consider subscribing to this channel. There's almost nothing I haven't done to this truck yet. I haven't had my hands on. I have a lot of videos, a lot of tutorials, a lot of installs, and if you're interested, I have a top 5 ways to solve your overheating issues video. I have a top 5 miles per gallon. The first 5 mods that I do that will increase your smiles exponentially every mod that you put on. And let's have some fun, guys. All right, I got to get out of here and go do something else. You have a good day.